And there is Wayne Bennett with Alan Langer.
Lots of times before you have success, you have failure. And I've had all that. Lots of failure. Whether you've got great wealth or you're just, a battler, it's what you've got to offer that's important to me, and I don't care about your background.
Hello, I'm Caroline Jones. Whether you're a fan or not, you'll admit that once in a while the sporting world delivers a story to inspire us all. I'm thinking Kathy Freeman, Kieran Perkins, and this week a footballer called Alan Langer and his coach Wayne Bennett. When Bennett conceived the gamble of recalling Langer from the UK for one final Rugby League State of Origin showdown, he was scripting a fairy tale that would make even Hollywood blush. Queensland defeated New South Wales 40-14. The sports writers raved. It was the greatest comeback since MacArthur, and Bennett the best coach in any sport anywhere in the world. Well, the seeds of it all were sown 2 years ago, and we recorded those events in our story about Wayne Bennett. It's a story about so much more than sport, and many of you have asked to see it again.
Bennett stormed out, having broken his week-long vow of silence.
Setting his usual stony-faced demeanour, Wayne Bennett said the Broncos...
There's more to him than a football coach, and people don't see that because, he's such a cold, insensitive thing, but he's really not. I guess you've got to be close to him to ever figure that out.
Play on for Melbourne, and Kamali is leading the race. Kamali will score again. My God, they've reached 40. What is happening? Here at ANZ Stadium, the Broncos' blackest day.
I've always been able to live with failure, but I've never been able to live with not doing the best that I could. I didn't care whether I won or lost. I just cared how good I did.
I want you all to get showered as quick as you can, and have a little meet.
Lots of times before you have success, you have failure. And I've had all that, lots of failure. But, Justin and Catherine and Elizabeth have all been able to give me that balance when I've gone home. I mean, Justin doesn't care whether we won or lost. He doesn't care about my dramas in life. He needs his dad, and he needs to play a game of cricket now, and he needs me to be silly, and he needs me to laugh and cuddling. I haven't been able to come home and really brood and be sour and lock myself away, and tried to. The big justice comes looking for me. My first memory of where I ever lived was in Alra. We lived right beside my grandparents. They had the one house and we had a little house beside them. My dad worked on the railway, as they called him, a fettler in those days. And Mum just did, a lot of cooking, a lot of cleaning in places.
Jim was a real gambler, a real drinker, and he gave us a pretty hard life, terrible things he'd done, and you'd go away to it this morning and you mightn't see him for a week.
We battled because, Dad spent too much time in the hotel and spent too much time gambling the money away, and that made life very, very difficult.
Jim came home really drunk and he tipped us all out of our beds and tore all our sheets and blankets in half, and we sat up against the wall in the freezing cold winter in Warwick. Well, you can imagine what that was like.
Times, and I don't say it lightly, that we would hide under a bed, we would hide in the house, someone would come knocking on the door, wanting money, collecting money, we'd owed money, whether it was a milkman, whether it was a mum had bought some stuff or whatever, just trying to survive. And, Dad had promised that he'd paid the bill or he'd done something, but he hadn't. He'd gone and gambled it somewhere.
Mum would be left home by 5:30 in the morning because she was cooking at hotels and doing breakfast. And we'd get out of bed, Wayne and I, and we'd have to get the others up to go to school. And I can remember there would always be a cooked breakfast. Maybe just for Mum, I just feel for Mum. Because, she did everything possibly for us. And we did get bagged. We were bagged fairly heavily, actually, in Warwick. We were never, we were the Bennet kids and we were nothing and we were nobodies. And as Mum said, I don't think really any of us have forgotten that because they sort of didn't make it real easy for us lots of times.
But strange to say all those ones that talked about my children of their own haven't finished up so
But
crash.
that doesn't matter, Mum, you know. But, you know, it was a very tough time for us, really.
The thing that I wanted to be, I think, more than anything else, is be responsible. And I always felt that was Dad's, biggest shortcoming. And as I grew into adulthood, I just made sure that I never looked down on anybody, regardless of their situation, because I knew what I'd experienced, and I didn't think anyone had that right to do that, because it's really important to me to treat everybody fairly, regardless of who's your dad, what your background is, whether you've got great wealth or you're just, a battler. It's what you've got to offer that's important to me, and I don't care about your background. An enormous amount of pressure in those years. All my friends wanted me to drink. I just didn't know any other way to thank my mother for all that she'd been through. I just said to her one day, Mum, I'm not going to drink. And that was about all that was said. And I didn't drink because I didn't want to let her down.
He led the way, and I was pretty fortunate. I had an older brother that was smart and made good decisions, and I followed his decisions, and I didn't drink and I didn't smoke and I didn't gamble, and it was all because Wayne didn't do it, and I just followed the lead.
Let it go now, Phil. That's it. Well, if you can take him out of business for us.
They say that the day you sign the contract is the day you also resign. It's just a matter of when.
You got that, Webby? We just want you to pick up the first offender. You lock him in, you're in business.
And now the reigning champions, the Brisbane Broncos. The Generals leading them out against the Melbourne Storm.
Bennett has been able to survive 11 years, which demonstrates quite clearly that he has been a man that's displayed enormous amount of integrity and honesty over that period of time.
20 marks away for Melbourne. He's only got to beat Bill Harrigan to get there.
In the first 2 pre-season games we played, there was just no indication that we were going to hit a major hurdle. There was none at all.
This is beautiful. Wayne Evans and Brocko finishes off.
The scoreboard just absolutely blew us away because mentally they lost it.
The Brisbane side, they look disjointed, their heads are down.
At that point there, I realised that to go back and do a fair bit of rebuilding.
What do you say to them after that performance?
Well, it's not words anymore. I mean, words are, I think we've all said enough words, it was about deeds and actions, and we're failing to deliver in that department.
Wayne was 11 when his father left home, and my little girl was only 18 months old, and the other 2 were in between. He was 13 when he started the bacon factory.
And Wayne used to have to ride his push bike right across town on a cold Warwick winter's morning, where it's sometimes it's -degrees, and they'd start at 6 o'clock in the morning. Your first job is you're a gut boy. There wasn't a day I remember Wayne not coming home from work pretty much exhausted and just with meat and blood and from animals all over his clothing, and you never heard him complain. He just did it and carried on,
And he'd park the bike and he'd go inside, and next thing you'd see him, outside with his spelling book, and I'd say, Wayne, what are you doing? I'm learning my spellings. Why are you learning your spellings? He said, because I'm not going to stay where I am, Michelle. He said, I'm going to make something of my life. He said, I'm going to get in the police force. And in those days, to us, that was a very big thing for us, because we'd been nothings and we'd been nobodies, and you just didn't get in the police force with what we called our credentials.
They accepted my application. I was 15 and a half probably at the time. And I failed the examination dismally.
He studied so hard, he failed first up, but he was determined to get into the cadets. That was his drive. He wanted to be a policeman.
Of all the staff that were there at the bacon factory, there was only one guy that ever encouraged me. Everybody else threw off at me, told me what a fool I was, what I was wasting my time for. He said, Wayne, you hang in there, this is your real chance. And so I did, and I came back 6 months later and I sat for the exam again and I passed it. I started as a police cadet in March of 1966, which was a wonderful occasion. See, I had that type of personality that everyone kind of wanted me to go with their sisters, and the fathers all wanted me to take their daughters to the balls. Everyone kind of trusted me. They thought they'd be safe with Wayne.
We first met when I went on a blind date and was with my brother and his girlfriend, and my brother had organised it, of course.
So I just turned up when I met Trish. Yeah. Some would say it was the luckiest day of my life. And they'd be right too, actually. They'd be right.
When we got married, I was marrying a policeman who was interested in football and would probably coach on the weekends. Never in my wildest dreams did I think that he would get to this level.
He was a good footballer, Wayne. In 1971 and 72 and 1973 he played for Queensland. And in 1971 he was one of only 2 Queenslanders picked in the Australian side to tour New Zealand.
And Bennett, Wayne Bennett striding straight through a tackle there of Beetson's and a great run. Wayne Bennett certainly electrifies the crowd and puts brothers right back in the picture.
He had the determination to succeed and to improve and not just ride the train and see where it took him.
I love the things that it teaches you. It teaches you to be disciplined, it teaches you not to give in, it teaches you to take a knock, it teaches to handle disappointment.
I'll never forget the day Wayne Bennett came to my office and told me he was resigning. And he said, I'm taking a job at the Queensland Rugby League. And I looked and I said, Wayne, you can't do that. I just couldn't see where there was a future from my knowledge of rugby league in Queensland or that, but he saw it better than I saw it, much better. So he went and made a great success of it.
The Broncos started in 1988 and then the opportunity came to be the inaugural coach, so I took it. Well, Justin was born quite normal. He was a beautiful little baby and we loved him very much and we're very happy to have him.
He started having seizures after a routine vaccination.
I was on the Oval coaching. I remember one of the staff running down to me about 4:30, 4:45, saying, Justin's at the hospital. Things aren't real good. You've got to get up there as soon as you can to the general hospital. I couldn't believe it. I was driving in and it was a terrible feeling driving in, not knowing what had happened, what had gone wrong, you know. And as I walked down the corridor, they say you can always tell your babies cry, you know, and I could hear him crying. And Trish was there and she told me what had happened. He had the needle in the morning, which I knew he was going to have, and then she put him in the cot in the afternoon and then she went and heard a noise and he was convulsing. And he was in that seizure for about 2.5 hours that day.
So he got a lot of brain damage then, and a couple of days later had another one, which lasted an hour or so, the same thing. So it's the length of time that he's been in the seizures that have caused his brain damage. It's our responsibility to look after him. He's been given to us to look after, so you just do the best you can. And then Elizabeth arrived 17 months later, so she should be really neurotic, but she's not. Because I'd be feeding her and he'd fall at my feet in a fit, so I'd have to put her on the ground and look after him. So 3 years after we had Elizabeth, Kath arrived.
There was no inclination there was anything wrong. Doctor came out and I was in the waiting room. He said, Wayne, he said, things aren't real good. We haven't got a good one here. Funny how you remember, just use the exact words, you know. Things aren't real good, we haven't got a good one here. Well, I went in and I can still see her laying there now and she was just a mangled mess.
It was a shock because she was very twisted. We'd never heard of the condition that she had, which is arthrogryposis. She had club feet. Her feet were sitting on her tummy. Her arms were extended because she couldn't bend her elbows. So I think we're very both accepting, and we'll deal with it one day at a time.
17 years later, I'm pleased that, she came to us that way, and she's been a wonderful child. I'm pleased she didn't die, and we just got on with it. We never looked back again, and we just kept going forward. And we got through because we did it together, and we had a lot of family support, and without that we wouldn't have made it.
Our life's been spent waiting for Dad to come out of change rooms and bringing us lemonade to keep us quiet. So yeah, football's probably the biggest memory, and going to the beach.
Yeah, the beach.
There you go, Just. Quick, there you go. Go, big Just. Go. Big Just. Oh, he's down the red. It's down the big number 16.
Wayne found a file that someone had written talking about how proud Wayne was when Justin was born. And they asked him, did he want him to be a top-line footballer? And in this paper it's got, no, as long as he was competitive. And he is.
Oh, beautiful pick up.
He loves to compete, he loves to play, and he loves to win. Absolutely loves to win.
Chance for the defending premiers, the grand final rematch tonight.
We're back in the ballpark now, and we need to get a kill up, and we need to do it very soon. When you're trying to turn something around, just because you click your fingers and say, well, that's what we're going to do, well, let's all go and do it, it doesn't just turn around that easy.
Unbelievable. The premiers have lost 5 straight. Canterbury 20, the Brisbane Broncos 16.
When you're losing, I think the players need more support than they ever have. And they need you to be supportive of them. And they need it privately, and they need it publicly.
Whatever your thoughts are, just make sure you don't start feeling sorry for yourself. Maybe go backwards. Tough loss.
He doesn't have to rant and rave to get his point across. As soon as he speaks, everyone in the room will stop and listen, and I think that's the way it should be.
The best way he coaches his players is respect, and all the players respect him, so...
Done a long way in the last couple of weeks.
He's a winner, and especially when we're losing and not playing as well as we can, he's not in the best of moods.
Take notes of his performance, don't dwell on it.
Every football team needs someone right now, it's me, and if I lose it and I start feeling sorry for myself, that I might lose my job over this or anything else, then I'd let them down, and I would never let them down. I would, regardless of what my own personal cost to me was, I would never let them down.
Actually, Tony Durkin sent an article today. In 1981, we were the brothers. We lost the first 5 games in a row.
Had a sleep today, didn't you?
We did an article on it.
You'll come home, we'll fly home from Sydney and you've been beaten or whatever, and you walk in the back door and he's waiting for me.
Are you going for the Broncos?
No way.
Justin will go for the other team, and I think he's smart enough to realise that it gets up my nose. And he stands there with the jersey of the opposition on, and he puts his arms out, and he gives me a big cuddle, and then he looks at me and he says, "You're not very happy, are you?" And I'll say, "No, I'm not." And he says, "Well, I am, because my team won." So, if he wasn't your son and if he wasn't disabled, you'd just about knock him out. But you can't do that. So you give him another cuddle and in the house you go.
You're not going for the rabbits, are you, Big Will? You're going for the rabbits?
Yes, he is.
Yeah, just over here.
You too, girl. I can't override.
If Kennedy wants to, he said, Gordon.
It's no bigger buzz to see Justin come to training, get all strapped up.
Gordon, don't touch it. All right? He doesn't want you touching it.
Oh, man.
And he means it too.
You see the smile on Wayne's face when Justin is enjoying himself. It's just great to see.
God gave me Justin for a lot of reasons, to make me obviously a better person, make me more tolerant, more understanding, because he's given me all those qualities, I can tell you.
would you please announce the 1997 Coach of the Year?
The winner is Wayne Bennett.
And I didn't know I was getting the Coach of the Year, and he didn't know, and I walked in and he gave me a big hug, you know, and he said, "I'm so proud of you, Wayne."
Ladies and gentlemen, the Brisbane Broncos coach and Coach of the Year.
You know, he knows what we've achieved at times, whether he understands it, and if there was one thing I would have been nice at some stage that, you know, he could have understood that, but not to be so, you know, doesn't make it any less, but it would have been nice.
For Justin.
Yeah, for Justin, yeah, for Justin. And probably for me, because, you know, as I'm proud of him, I'd like to think he's proud of me as well. Yeah.
Wayne Bennett, the coach of Brisbane, Queensland and the Australian Rugby League teams, was awarded the title Father of the Year.
He was Father of the Year because he was father to this family, he was father to the Broncos, he was just father to, or help to anybody who wanted it. God knows the people he's helped.
Yeah, bring it, Liz. Scrum and Broncos. I couldn't have achieved those things if Trish hadn't been so supportive of what I wanted to do. Walrus Court. And I would not have coached. I would have walked away from all of this if it meant the marriage, you know, if it meant the children. I mean, they were more important to me than but she's allowed me to do this. And I've been doing it for 20-odd years, and I've only done it with her great cooperation and her support. Oh, he's pulled his jersey up there, Big Just. So she's been the one that's been the success story, and she's totally unselfish. I've never seen a woman that, you know, can give so much of herself to everybody else and require nothing in return.
It's a great sharing relationship. Except that Mum does all the cooking and cleaning.
And everything else.
And the washing and the ironing. And
the looking
the
at
running
us.
the kids around and stuff. But yeah, no.
Other than that, yeah.
Inside to Michael De Vere into a yawning gap and he'll score. Just it back to Gordon Tallis. Tallis driving low. Good pass from G to Walker. And he's in for his second try in the space of a couple of minutes. And that does wrap it up for Brisbane. But the Premiers are back in business.
Oh, welcome back, Phil. Well done, Big Brad. Scoring tries. We are playing footy again.
Family life is football.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'd want it any other way.
No, because they're a much part of his life as we are, and to take them away would be taking something out of him, and he wouldn't be complete if he didn't have that.
Wouldn't say it's just dead.
No, it's just there, like just...
Yeah, niggling.
Yeah. I really do see him as like a second father I can go to and speak to about things, and, you know, more often than not, I believe he points me in the right direction, so...
Well done. Happy with that? Beautiful.
I don't know how he does it. He's like a father to all the players, and if anyone's got problems on or off the field, he'll fix them if he can. Well, he's not only a father figure. I think I class him as one of my best friends.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Brisbane Broncos, and Alan Lang, I just want to announce to you all that Alan's decided to retire from rugby league.
Really didn't have the motivation to go on and play for the rest of the year.
The easy thing for him would have been to hang out for the rest of the season, you know, play without any enthusiasm, probably know that I wouldn't make the tough call on him, certainly until the end of the year.
You know, my teammates come first and didn't want to let them down.
That would have been the easy thing for him to do. The hard thing was for him to do what he did, and that's what I admire about him. A lot of guys couldn't have done what he did yesterday, and his teammates have a great deal of admiration for him for doing it. My own personal feelings and the club's have got to be put aside sometimes, and we had a young man that just wasn't enjoying what he was doing and having great difficulty doing it.
It's not so much how many teams he's coached to victories or, you know, how many premierships he's won. I think it's more what he's done with the young men that have come to the club, just make sure when they leave the club that they're better people, and I know he's been very successful at that.
You know what values mean? What about character? You know what character means?
If you've got a good character, you're happy, you're like got a positive attitude and stuff like that.
Spot on, mate. How about honesty? Hey, that's a really important thing in character, is honesty. I'd love to get to every kid in Australia if I could. because I think it's the vital age and you see this tremendous potential in them. Now, I know and I appreciate that some of you have probably been dealt some lemons in your life. That happens. You know, people do have some tough times and things are tough. You go to some tough schools some days and you can see that, you know, you've been where they are and you just want to grab them and shake them and say, hey, look, you don't have to make excuses. You don't have to think you're going to be a failure. You can be a success, but you've got to get out and make something happen. I enjoy a game of soccer. I enjoy going for a run. And I suppose if I can do that nearly every day and going to the farm, then I'm pretty happy.
Someone's going to die!
No, I just love that environment. It does put life into perspective, you know. And we might be under pressure and we might be being hassled and everything else. I go up the farm, the cattle don't care.
Yes, mate. Yeah, I know what it is.
It puts everything back in perspective and I come back and I say, you're kidding yourself, Wayne. You know, what are you getting uptight about that for? It'll sort itself out.
The battle of the cities between Melbourne and Brisbane. An eerie day, though, for Brisbane, of course, led out there by Kevin Walters and no number 7 Alan Langer today. Now, Lewis! Shane Walker will go through and score!
I realise that unlike players, you've got to use by date. And the one criteria that I have for myself is when I lose the enthusiasm for it. Get as hard as it's been the last 5 or 6 weeks, I haven't lost that. You can't do my job unless you're enthusiastic for it.
And he's over! Now they go for it and they get it! And 28 points to 18, Melbourne victorious over Brisbane.
My life has been adversity. But from each disaster I've come back stronger. And even now that we've lost 7 games, we're still not the underdogs. I don't fear about what's happening here. I know how to battle through it. I know I'll come out the other side of it. I know they'll come out with me. It's just a matter of when, and we'll be better for it. We'll be stronger people. We'll appreciate winning more than we ever have in the past.
If he wasn't a football coach, I think he'd be a telegraph pole. That would be his life, I reckon. Hanging power lines from it.
Langer, danger, danger. Langer's over, is he? Yes! Langer gets a try!
If there's a coach in any sport anywhere in the world better than Wayne Bennett, I'd like to meet him.
It was constructed after State of Origin 2. And Wayne said, how are you feeling? Can you do me one big last favour?